Welcome to the Simplify, Lead and Grow podcast, where business leaders share real strategies for growth. Hosted by Steve Kopecki, each episode offers insights to help you simplify, lead with purpose, and achieve success. Get ready for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. The journey to simplify, lead, and grow starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Steve Kopecki, the president and owner of Compass Performance, Inc., and host of the Simplify and Grow podcast. At Compass, we work with organizations, teams, and entrepreneurs as they intentionally build a work culture focused on 80-20, simplification and accelerated growth, building a bridge to their profitability, as well as an environment of continuous learning. Today, my guest on the Simplify and Grow podcast is Megan Doberstein, the founder and CEO of Ignite MedTech, a fractional marketing agency for health tech and medtech companies. In Wisconsin, we're pretty excited about this, having recently received out of 12 Tech Hub grant recently awarded by the federal government. We received one of them, and the award was $49 million. That was led by a company called a group called BioForward Wisconsin, which aims to position Wisconsin as a global leader in personalized medicine. That's a little bit above my pay grade, but I think you could probably explain that a little bit more to us, Megan. This can all get pretty complex as we move forward, certainly, especially for me. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the services your company offers and how you simplify to grow your marketing efforts associated with medtech and health tech startups. Can you give us a summary of your business, a bit about your impressive career history at Abbott, Medtronic, and what inspired you to start your own business and what the initial spark was for you to take that entrepreneurial leap?
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Really excited to be on the podcast. I always love sharing my experience and sharing sort of the entrepreneurial journey for sure. So thank you for having me. So to answer your question, so what's really sparked my entrepreneurial leap here? Yes, I was a W-2 employee for quite some time. The beginning half of my career was as a W-2 employee, and I made the leap about 3 years ago. And there wasn't really a distinct incident, I think, that really led to me taking on my own adventure here. But it was sort of ingrained in me as I was growing up. I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My grandmother owned a pizza shop that my parents inherited, and then later started a couple other companies. So I sort of always was around the entrepreneurial spirit. I even remember as a kid, I would help my mom complete the books at night. So we'd balance the books at the dinner table after dinner. So definitely was always around it in some capacity. And I always tried to get to that point where I could make my leap. Never really found something until the pandemic, and I was like, this is the time. I've got time right now, and it's time to really figure this out. So that was, I guess, the pandemic could be my spark.
Okay,
To
excellent.
push me in there. Yeah.
I think that was a good year for a lot of people starting up their businesses, actually. That's when I started mine. What are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
Yeah, I think time is probably the biggest one that comes to mind. I think a lot of people assume that since you own your own business, that you have more time, more freedom, and you kind of own your own schedule. And I do think that that's true to a capacity, right? You don't necessarily have to be in one spot for 8 hours at a time. You don't have to travel to a certain, state or country at when you're told, but there's a lot of other things that come into play, right? That you don't think of as a W-2 employee, right? You don't think about all of the branding and marketing and all the selling and all of the social media that needs to be done when you're an independent contractor or you own your own business. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions around time. Like a lot of people think you'll just have so much more freedom and you can do what you need to do. And
Right.
you're sort of constrained by the fact that you need to grow, right? Or you need to get more customers in order to keep this going. So I think there's time is probably the biggest one that I thought, even myself, I think when I first started, I was like, well, I'll just grab, 2 or 3 customers and have those for life and, and
Mhm.
I'll be good to go. Where, that wasn't the case. I soon realized that it was hard to grab 2 customers for life. And that I was going to need to pick up the pace here and do some other activities outside of just helping the customers that I had. And so I think time is probably one of the biggest misconceptions. And I should have known better as I grew up watching my parents work post 5 all
Mhm.
the time, and running their businesses on the weekend and went wherever they could. So time is definitely the biggest, I think, thing that pops into my head for sure.
Great, great. Well, time management on a daily basis, I'm sure, and
Yes. Yeah.
also just time in general and where you're spending your time with the customers, the different types of customers, and I'm sure that's evolved over time in your business. How has it? How has it evolved, and how, from the what seems to be maybe 4 years ago?
Yeah.
How has that changed your mindset about the customer, the market, and where the value is for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so in my career, I worked for these huge giant companies, right? Abbott and Medtronic are over 90,000 employees. And the distance from you and the end user was often far, right? Like some days you could go a whole month or go, go a couple of months without speaking directly to a patient or directly to a physician using your products. And so I think, that element of understanding your customer could be lost really easily, right? You had to make a point to understand your customers really well at those big companies. Whereas now working with smaller entrepreneurial, type of companies, these are small startups that I work with who are just ready to launch a product. They've got 3 or 4 people. They're often the founders, the people who have done the research, who have, the physician who's found the need. So they're very directly related to the problem that they're solving. I think that's kind of been the biggest difference, is really understanding that my customer is really the user as well sometimes, or they're really directly related to solving the problem for the customer. And I think I really value that piece of it. It's really fun to see their passion, right, and see their drive for a product that is not just going to make them maybe some money down the road, but it's going to really solve a healthcare problem. And I think that sometimes at these bigger companies, you're missing that aspect of it, right? People are like, this is a need in the market, and we can fulfill this bucket and grab more profitability, or be able to increase our market share. Whereas, these smaller companies are really focused on driving growth and solving a problem for patients. And I think that passion for that is really exciting to work for,
Yeah.
and a little bit different than I'm used to. So it's
Sure, sure.
it's
You're right
definitely,
there. Sounds like you're
yeah,
right there where the pain point is. Literally,
right,
in this case, the
exactly.
pain point in many
Yeah,
cases, I'm sure, right?
yeah, yes,
There's
exactly. Yeah.
there I am trying to be. We'll edit that out. Okay. Um, so how with this, small entrepreneurs then, or entrepreneurs, 3, 4 people that are coming to market with a product, how do because there must be a lot of things that need to get done, especially in this compliance-oriented environment, I'm sure. And
Mhm.
a lot more things need to get done probably than were thought of. And that puts a lot on you as a coach or consultant to the customers you're working with. It puts a lot on them. How do you maintain work-life balance as a leader in this, environment? What are your rituals that you make sure that you have some balance as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, yeah. I think exercise. This may sound cliche, but that's sort of the big one for me. I need to, to run. I need to be able to exercise daily. I think that, I really believe that if you can push yourself in that environment, in the gym environment, or, out on a run, that you could push through most challenges at work. I think it's really a big priority for me. It has been my whole life to play sports or to play, you know, to be active. My family is very active, and I've always looked to that, and it's definitely helps like kind of ease the anxiety. It helps me stay focused. I think knowing that I've got that run in and I've pushed myself early in the morning helps me be able to focus and really drive for results in my work. So that's definitely a big one for me. And then I think another one is meditation. I'm not 100% every day meditating, but I do try to set aside some time every, like 5 to 10 minutes when I wake up in the morning to really set my intention for the day, set some gratitude, to really focus in on what I need to accomplish. I think, as entrepreneurs, we talked about there's a lot going on all the time, and you need to be wearing a million different hats in order to survive. And so I think, narrowing your focus right in the morning and saying, hey, these are the things that I need to get accomplished today, and this is how I want to see my day progress, is important. I think it really helps me stay focused and to really, not get distracted by the millions of things going on. So those are two things, like, I guess, outside of the day to day.
Right. Right.
In my day to day, I would say time blocking. As a fractional entrepreneur, fractional worker, you have multiple customers at one time. If you're seen as a leader, you're going in as, positioning yourself as a fractional leader. The expectation from the customer is that you are there, right? That you're reliable, that you are showing up when you should, that you can get in contact with you. And sometimes they don't register that you have multiple customers, right? And even though you're only working 10 hours for them or 15 hours, they sometimes forget that aspect of it. And so, being able to block off my time and be like, I'm not going to answer emails, or I'm not going to answer text messages at this time, and I'm going to get this task done, is important for me. And it's really, you have to be able to kind of just set aside some time to do the work. And not to say that you're like ignoring your customers or anything of that nature. It's just more of like, let's get this task done, and then answer the emails and answer the text messages when
Sure.
you can. So really just time blocking, making sure I'm only focused on one thing. I don't have Slack going and email and text messages all at once. I
Right.
just, set aside time to really take those into account before so I don't have everything going at once.
Is this something that you learned, or were you always good at this time blocking?
No, this is a definitely a thing that's learned, and lots of practice. I think, especially, when I was going to school, we had, we still had to plug in our Ethernet to
Yeah.
the laptop, right? There
Yeah.
was no text messaging and no Slack. And so I think, having not grown up with so many different forms of technology all the time is definitely a learned process for me.
Hey, I tell you, when I was
Yeah.
going to college, they had this new thing called the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
well, terrific. With these processes that you've put in place, and also with meditation and
Mm.
the things that you've done to make sure you have balance, running, exercise, um, lots of processes which seem to help you. And sometimes you pull them and you use them. Sometimes, like running, you probably do it all the time.
Yeah.
Meditation, you said, yeah, I might need to come back to
Yeah.
this a little bit and work on this a little bit. I need a little bit more. In this constantly evolving, change business environment, medical device manufacturing, how do you stay adaptable and open to change? Because there's a lot of coming at you.
Yeah. I think a little bit of, I think my personality, right, of just going with the flow, being able to pivot, I think is maybe part of marketing, right? Part of product marketing, product management is sort of you grow up being that quarterback of, okay, you've got all this, you're going to manage the total product. So you've got sales forecasting, you've got, your communications, you've got your design aspect, you've got, all these, different aspects of marketing that are coming into play. And so you're sort of trained to manage them all and juggle them all at once,
Right.
and represent that product the best you can. And so I think you're sort of trained to be the quarterback. And so that keeps you nimble and keeps you agile, because the topic is constantly changing throughout your day. So I think that that's helpful. And then, like I said, I think more your personality, right? Like, are you able to go with the flow? And, that's part of being an entrepreneur, that your plan is never going to stay your plan, right?
Mhm.
As
Mhm.
much as you think you can navigate through, it's gonna need to change. It's gonna need to adapt. So I think being nimble and being open-minded is just part of the job. And a lot of people who don't have that attitude will probably end up back as a W-2 employee, right? Or end up back doing a job that's more structured. And I think that's just part of being an entrepreneur.
Which is a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe because a person can have strengths because of their preferences or style. They can also have some areas that are, issues that they could solve if they somehow put in processes, as an example, for someone
Yeah.
that might be more go with the flow. And if they put
Right.
processes in place to make sure they sort of mistake proof their day, maybe they
Yeah.
would be able to stay away from being a W-2. I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of ups and downs, and I think that when you're on the down, you have to understand that there's going to be an up, right? And that's hard to swallow,
Yeah.
when you've been someplace where it's very consistent, and that there's not the downs are not that down, right? It seems like that when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, well, we cannot go any lower. You know what I mean? This is as far as we go. And
Right.
you have to know that there's a new day coming, and that, this is going to lead to something bigger and better. And so that's, I think, hard to keep a focus on. And it's like, it's constant, right? You have to constantly be thinking that the next day will bring something better, or else it gets too much. Right?
Terrific. Terrific. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you can, making sure that you have you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's when things are down, but also how about the future too? And could you offer a glimpse into the future of your plans?
Yeah. So at Ignite MedTech, we are a fractional marketing agency. And so we provide marketing leadership to health tech and med tech companies. And ideally, we want to grow. And so we want to farm out our marketing philosophy, our process, to other med tech and health tech companies. So we're looking for more marketing leaders, right? So how can we help more companies grow, and how can we make more med tech technology out there in the market? That's the goal for us. So the next step is to hire more marketers that have a similar background to me, and to help more companies get to launch their product.
That's terrific. It sounds like a great
Yeah,
growth model for you.
thanks. Thanks.
Excellent.
Yes.
What advice would you have to offer to aspiring entrepreneurs who are starting their journey and facing challenges with their business?
Yeah, I think just take the first step, take action. I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we are perfectionists, right? We want everything to look a certain way and to have a certain feel. I think a lot of people get caught up in the website isn't perfect, or I haven't got all of my sales collateral completely done. And I think it's just taking the first step. So launch the website, make the first phone call, find the first partner and do these tiny steps that that may feel giant, right? They may feel huge, but take a step forward, I think, and you can always go back and update your website, or go back and find a better partner to help you grow. And I think it's really just taking action. That's my biggest advice, is that even though it doesn't feel exactly right or the way you envisioned, taking the next step is critical, or else you're not growing, or you're not moving forward.
Okay, well, that's incredible advice. You got to generate some revenue, right?
Yeah,
To be able to do
exactly.
something really good in the future as well. And the revenue feeds the engine. So
Yes, exactly.
you
Yep.
don't need to have everything perfect all the way through. So real important advice for an entrepreneur starting out. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time today. This has been terrific. As we conclude our conversation with Megan, it's evident that your expertise in navigating complexities in the health and med tech industries is really transformative, and it's something that small entrepreneurs will need as we move forward with as they start their medical device manufacturing businesses, et cetera. From your impressive tenure at Abbott and Medtronic to founding Ignite MedTech, you've demonstrated how simplifying strategies and using tools like maybe 80/20 can help you drive significant growth and innovation. Your insights in maintaining work-life balance and staying adaptable are particularly valuable for anyone in the entrepreneurial space. Thank you for joining us, Megan, and thank you to the listeners. Remember, simplicity and focus are your best allies in growth. Until next time, keep simplifying and growing. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Simplify, Lead, and Grow podcast. We hope this episode provided you with valuable insights and actionable strategies to apply in your leadership journey. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review to help us reach more listeners. Be sure to share this podcast with fellow leaders ready to simplify their approach, lead with purpose, and grow their business. Until next time, continue to lead with passion and grow with purpose.